Okay, no guys, let's quickly do this thing. There's not much to say, and therefore we're not going to waste your precious time. Let me start off again to tell you a little bit about the background of Curro private schools. As I said in my previous video, I deleted that video. It seems everything technical that could go wrong was wrong. Curro was actually the start of all things, because the first 4 victims of forced vaccination were 4 teachers, female teachers that we met up with last year in Centurion. They were at that stage very scared and very victimized. They opened up at what was going on inside that school. Since then, we have dealt continuously and on and off with the whole issue of Curro as an employer who tries to enforce the whole issue of forced vaccination. On off, what do I mean by that? Then they will start up, then they will stop, then they will start up, then they will stop. Every time there's something different in the policy, every time they do something a little bit different. Absolute nonsensical. And yes, they are also now apparently in a process where they want their pupils, the learners, to also get vaccination. Okay, today and yesterday you can go onto the stock market indicators for yourself, the indices, and you will find that Curro is taking a beating from their shareholders. In this week, they are also once again busy with all kinds of hearings and investigations, and the employees must do this and that, and the biggest load of nonsense you can ever imagine yourself taking place inside workplaces. However, this afternoon a very interesting change came. More than one of the schools indicated that the issue around PCR testing, whereas the classic problem is that PCR testing on cost of the employee was the in thing in corporate South Africa. Of course, we're sitting with the Colin Smith award at CCMA, where the commissioner rightly so found that it creates an too onerous duty on the employee to perform, and therefore it is basically unlawful, illegal, and it will most probably then lead to employers losing their cases at CCMA on those simple grounds. Okay, so this afternoon, from more than one institution run by Curro, we have received very interesting news now. They still want PCR testing, but now they say, well, we will take it on our cost, on the company cost. Now we're sitting with a very interesting problem. The Employment Equity Act is very clear in that you cannot force an employee to undergo testing. If you do that, it can be seen as criminally illegal. You know about this. I've covered this topic numerous times on video. All my clients, literally every single one of them are aware of this, because I furnish you with a legal opinion where I say this, and I furnish you with the actual legislation so that you can provide it to your employers. And now we are sitting with the Colin Smith award from CCMA, which validates my position in law and validates my advice that I have given to every single one of my clients since day one. Okay, but now what do we do if the employer comes and says, there is now medical testing that we require from you, but we will pay for it? I discussed this issue in quite some length earlier this month with IPSA. IPSA is the banking, one of the banking unions, trade unions. Luke, thank you so much for your extremely valuable inputs that you gave during that discussion. And both of us feels and sees this as where the employer now creates a situation where the employee cannot refuse. Okay, I know all the misgivings about PCR testing. I know the science about PCR testing. I know how invalid the tests themselves are. I'm not here to endorse PCR testing. However, if the employer comes and the employer indeed goes ahead, like we now apparently is going to see from Curro, I hear it is going to be the decision at discovery, We are moving very close to that in Standard Bank, and I can call a few other places where the employer now pays for that testing. My advice to employees will be, yes, you will have very little choice in law, but to then comply with that. If the employer is willing to, number one, do it in writing, in other words, the offer is done in writing, it's part of the policy. Number two, the testing is done at their cost, the employer's cost. And thirdly, it is done in working time, during working time, or you are compensated after hours. Then in law, you will have a very difficult time in explaining away to a commissioner at CCMA or Labour Court judge that this now places an onerous task on you or duty on you that you cannot perform. Okay, so my advice is simple. Curro, I think you are on the right way. I think the crash in your shareholding maybe also pointed you into the right direction, because as I started to predict already on video here, AGMs are coming up as of October, right through December until the end of the year, in which shareholders of companies, and especially big companies, are going to ask a lot of questions as to where did the profits of this company go, why were certain executives paid huge bonuses to enforce vaccination policies that actually disrupted production and caused the best of your employees to either resign or be dismissed or become negative and lose production. Okay. So here's a summing up of this video, and please, it will be very interesting to see what response from the public is relating to this. Here is my response to the offer of Curro, and that is, if in the case of Curro or any other corporate for that matter, the employer comes and he says, number one, you must be PCR tested 72 hours, whatever the time frame. Number two, I will do it on my cost. Number three, it's now part of policy of the written policy of the workplace. In other words, they can't go back on their word. In working hours or being compensated for our after hours testing, you as an employee will most probably have to comply. That is my advice to you. I will take this up on an individual basis with all my clients, but that is my general feeling. That is my gut feel. Remember, when you in law, daar word altyd gepraat van wat is jou regsgevoel rondom 'n sekere aspek. My regsgevoel, the feeling in my gut around this issue is you will have to comply. If you do not comply, it's going to create a very difficult position for you to go and explain why you are not willing to test if those criteria are met. So in short, that is the good news. That is, they only started off the video just before we came on in this way. She's going to do a little video of herself later on. We will just sort out the technical issues before that. But yeah, the long and the short is, it seems as if employers have come to a crossroads, especially after the Colin Smith Award at CCMA, where they fully realize that they have been acting unlawfully, illegally from day one, from start. I have been validated. Skalk van der Merwe has been validated in my position that, number one, employers cannot do the things that they plan to do because it is not supported by any law, especially not labor law in South Africa. And secondly, at CCMA, a tide will turn at some point and the dam wall will break. And after that, employers who have dismissed or suspended workers unfairly will be punished severely. And I think that is what is prompting this new change, this new direction that we are seeing. Everybody's aware of the $7.8 billion loan now offered to South Africa and taken up by South Africa, by Ramaphosa and his government to try and still vaccinate South Africa. Cyril, that money is going to disappear. We all know the money is going to disappear into the dark hole. This is just simply to buy off your cronies. We're not falling for this whole thing of 7.8 billion being offered now as a loan. Our problem is just as taxpayers, who's going to pay off the loan? It's going to come out of our treasury, unfortunately, the payments on that. So in other words, you and me are actually now once again going to see billions of dollars being siphoned off to the cronies of the ANC. COVID is at an end. Let's just stop the nonsense. I'm really starting to lose my patience with employers who simply continue with this unsustainable policies that they try to implement in workplaces now, even at the end of this, now even harder pressuring the whole issue. I am fed up. I'm really at the point where I have lost my cool with employers now. If you do not realize at this point in time that you are wrong in law and you are on the wrong side of history, then nothing is going to change that. And it simply means that AGM time, when those shareholders hold those meetings, I will instruct them and I will incite them to vote you out as directors of companies and get rid of CEOs and senior management that made themselves guilty of gross human rights offenses and infringements because of this COVID policies, these COVID policies that you have in your workplace. Okay, so I hope I'm crystal clear on this issue. I really hope I'm crystal clear. Okay, I'm going to sign off. Let's see if we can sort out the technical errors and problems, and then we will come back on video. Myself and Leonie, we have some other things we want to chit-chat to you about, mostly positive things. We were sitting here laughing now at all the strange things that's going on around us and all the very strange, how can I put it, comments. I see there's even now a Photoshop of where Leonie has 6 toes on one of her feet. The enemy is trying its utmost best, but they know that they have lost. You have lost in the mainstream media, you have lost on social media, you are losing the legal battles, and now you are trying all these clown tricks to try and smear and throw the last little bit of mud. You've become ludicrous. You've become a laughing stock of South Africa. And we, the good guys, we are winning, and we have won in many instances. So yes, I will be back, hopefully, in a very short while from now, back on video with Leonie, and we will take it from there.